Now a short introduction to one tool that is very helpful in Illustrator called the Pen Tool. So the Pen Tool is here towards the top, and it can be a very helpful tool. It can also be a tricky tool. So I'm going to show you an exercise from a textbook in a class that I used to teach that actually helped me learn how to use the Pen Tool. So what you want to do is create first just one layer, regular paper size blank document. Then I'm going to go in and pull my lines forward. I don't really need the color guide. And I'm going to choose a red for the paintbrush. So this is not the pen tool. This is I am making things that I'm going to trace with the pen tool. So in a background layer in Illustrator, I am going to make a series of lines. So I make a straight-ish line, a sort of rectangle, a sort of triangle, hello. I'm going to make a frowny face. I know this ends up looking like a frowny guy. I'm going to make a swoosh, swivelly kind of one. I think I need to flip my artboard so I have more room to go down. And then the very last one I'm going to make like hills. Now I'm going to come over to my layers palette in Illustrator. If you don't know how to get this, watch my earlier videos. I'm going to add a new layer and lock the bottom layer. I'm going to switch my stroke to black, and I'm going to come in here with the pen tool, and I want my fill to be nothing so that it doesn't fill over these shapes so I can still see what I'm doing. So now this is, like I said, a great way to learn the pen tool. So now I'm going to go and trace each of these lines. Remember, they're locked in the background so I can't actually bump into them or move them. So I'm going to choose the pen, and what you do with the pen tool is you're actually placing anchor points and then allowing Illustrator to fill in the path between them. So for this one, it's pretty straight, so I just click to click, and then I'm going to hit escape to end the line. I'm going to make it go back and select it and make it a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing over those red lines, and voila. So not very complicated there. But now I'm going to go down to this next shape, and I will click. And if I want to really honestly, so say a client gave me this and they want this exactly, I might click in this space. I'm going to click here. So you see, if I click straight across, it's going to give me a straight line. If I don't want the straight line, then I might need to click in the middle. And this is where the pen tool gets a little tricky. You're going to click and hold, and then I'm going to pull my mouse away in a diagonal, and the line is going to match that diagonal opposite. So as I pull down and away, the line is going to curve up and away. So if I want the line to curve down, I'm going to actually pull up just a little bit, and then come over to the next anchor point, and then come finish it here, and see, all I have to do is curve just a little bit, et voila. So now you'll notice if I keep going down to this one, it tends to want to follow me. So anytime you can just hit escape and it will stop following you. Now of course I can't get out of there. It should just hit escape or undo. There we go, to unplace that last one. So now when I come over here, I'm going to click to place the first anchor point. And I've had enough experience with the pen tool to know that this will work, but you might need to experiment and maybe try it halfway. But I'm pretty sure that I can come down to the last point, drop an anchor, and now I'm going to click and click and click, and nope, see, it is not the right angle. So you were right. I have to go about here in the center, and pull this out, come down here, pull it to match the angle, and call it a day. And see, it'll start to follow me, so I just hit escape. Now this one, how do you make a wave? This one I definitely want to start in the middle. Click and pull diagonal, and then this is going to follow me pretty closely. That's not bad. But if I want it to follow me more closely, I go back and click on that last point, and you see it's going to convert it from a curve to an angle. And that's what that little symbol next to it is. So I click on there, and now it will follow me even better. Then hit escape. go to the next one. So this is where this really comes in handy. And for this, I'm not going to worry about matching it perfectly. I want the curves that are here. So these really nice angles and curves that you get are called Bezier curves, and they're hard to draw by hand. You get much more elegant ones when you let Illustrator do some of the work. So see here, it won't let me keep going with the curve. So I click and change that point to an angle. Now I can go do the next segment and the next segment, and then hit escape to stop it. You can also use the pen tool to close down shapes. So as I showed you in an earlier video how you have to image trace and live paint something that you created in Illustrator, if you create it with the pen tool, that is not the case. So I can create a design with the pen tool with lovely elegant Bezier curves. Remember, you can click and change some of these to angles if you want. So you can use this to draw. And then if I come back to the end of the shape, you see that little circle? That's going to close the shape. Now I have a shape that I can select with my selection tool and fill just like you can any other Illustrator object, because it is a closed filled object. So if you want to be able to draw some closed shapes and not have to image trace and deal with them with the paint bucket, then the pen tool is your friend. You will also notice with the pen tool I can deselect it, go back in with the direct select tool, hover over, find my points. I can click on them and get the handles to change the curves. I can actually move my anchor points completely. So one of the great things about drawing in Illustrator is it's really editable. In Photoshop, when you draw or paint a line, you're kind of stuck with that and you can transform it, but you can't just go back in and just straight change it like Illustrator allows you to do. You can also, with the pen tool, I'm going to deselect, you can right click and get other options. So as you're manipulating them, you can add anchor points. So if you wish you had a place that you could adjust the shape and there's no anchor point there, you can add a new one. You could subtract anchor points. So again, click outside of it. I can go back in and say I decide that I don't like this little bump there, and I'm going to just subtract that one. You can also convert any of your anchor points from it's the conversion tool that converts it from an angle to a curve. So there is the pen tool. You can color it just like you can any other object, and you can duplicate it. You can even fill it with text. So this is a way to be able to make custom shapes so you could fill with text. And if I wanted it outlined and colored and filled, I would duplicate it, fill it, put them back together, and of course never use the default font. And there you go. That is how to use a rather advanced tool, the pen tool. If you are having trouble editing it or manipulating it, I suggest that you zoom in, and remember that you can go in with your direct select tool and mouse over to see what anchors and paths you are dealing with. Now go create.